Hi, I hope you're doing great and continuing to stay safe and healthy and nourished. And today's vlog is a continuation about entrepreneurship, and I think the last part of the last session of the Nutripreneurship sessions. And today I want us to talk about how to get clients because when you start a business, doesn't matter how much capital you have, at some point you're going to need for that business to be stable and for it to sustain itself. And it's the same with any kind of business. Only that now for entrepreneurship, especially if you're talking about the service based side of things, whether where you're opening a clinic or it's an online business, you need to be able to get customers. And in my previous vlog, I talked about social media, which is key. I mean, nowadays almost everybody has a social media account, so we cannot overlook the role of Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, to build your client base. However, what about groups? We have a lot of women groups, also known in the Kenyan context as chamas, or religious groups, whether it's in churches, mosques, any place of religious where people gather for whatever reason, especially the religious groups. You should be able, or you can be able to approach whoever is leading that group and just talking to them about the possibility of you giving a nutrition and health talk. And for you, that starts out a journey of, first of all, marketing yourself, and that is when you're starting. But make sure you're not taken advantage of in those situations. And hey guys, this was tough for me when I started, because I did a lot of nutrition talks, especially in places of worship. And most of the time watu watakwambia, you need to give back, or you know like they literally expect you to say to do work for free. And they use this currency called exposure. So we are giving you exposure. Yes, when you're like starting out from scratch, of course you need exposure. And this can be you going to those chamas, as we've talked about, or whichever groups, organized groups, and giving them nutrition and health talks. Let them see the kind of value that you're going to bring to them, so that when you're giving them an appointment to your clinic, or just online, or however you whichever model you want to apply for that, they will have seen the return on investment. But also, guys, even if you're going to do, but the business is business, yeah, unless you want to do CSR. Honestly, if you want to just start out with the chamas or groups, at the beginning you can do it for free, but please don't do it more than 3 times for free, because then you set precedence for, even 3 times is too much, maybe twice, especially if it's the same group, because you set precedence for people telling you, so you just continue so that you can get exposure. We will introduce you to 1, 2, 3. That is great, it's part of networking, but again, exposure does not really pay bills. So at some point you'll have to ask yourself, how much am I going to be charging for this? So it would be good for you at the beginning, from the word go, to start having a conversation with whichever groups you're talking to, telling them, I can do this for free at the beginning, but please, I would want to start, especially for persons who would want more individualized care. I would want to continue, giving them one-on-one information, or care, or just individualizing their services, so that then you're able to also make money out of it. But please do not stay for too long in the exposure box, otherwise it gets ugly pretty fast, because you're not going to pay rent with exposure, and you cannot eat exposure. So at the end of the day, it is business, whether it's a religious group or a chama, whatever it is business. Please, for heaven's sake, charge for your services. um the other thing I want us to talk about still in this video is about costing your services. I know when I was working in the public sector, nutrition services then, it's even so embarrassing to say, used to be 500 Kenya shillings, and that's like $5. And with the current situation, like our current economy, you really cannot charge your services at that level. So, how do you cost your services, and what do you look into, or what informs how you cost your services? For instance, if you're doing an assessment, in my previous vlog where I talked about the tools you need, I talked about tools that you need for your work. Yeah. So, for instance, let's say that you have used a glucometer. That glucometer has strips that you have to keep replacing as you continue, assessing your patients, your clients, or maybe you use a cholesterol machine, or a ketometer, whichever machine it is, even if it's just a weighing scale. And we said you're going to be using body composition analyzers, not a normal weighing scale. So, whatever equipment that you're using, one, goes through wear and tear, two, you bought it, so there's investment capital, and then now there are those other equipments that you need to keep buying for refilling their strips or whatever it is. So you have to factor that in your profit when you're doing your calculations for how much, or when you're deciding how to cost your services. So the cost of your equipment that you use. Secondly, products. If you're dealing, for instance, with either herbal products or nutraceuticals, nutrition products, you need to consider several things in your profit margin. One, even if you're making that product, it needs to get to your client. So you do have your, if you're producing, first of all, the product, you have your production cost, then you have your transportation cost. If you're storing it, you need to put there your storage cost. Of course, there is your profit, your delivery cost for the client, to the client, but also your energy, like, especially if for the service part of it, your energy and time taken has to be factored in when you're doing your costing. So there are several things you need to look into. You just don't get a number out of the blue. Yeah, there has to be some logic in how you do your cost. And that's why, for instance, if you're going to buy something from a big mall where their rent is high, but also a lot of times the traffic, the customer traffic is higher. You, if you're buying from the mall, it's going to be more expensive than if you are buying it from a street vendor who probably does not have rent to buy. Their county council cost might be way lower than you would if you are, having the same business or the same establishment in a different setting. So you have, first of all, to know your expenses, your expenditure, that, how much is it taking to run your business. And all that is something you have now to put into consideration when you're doing your costing, so that you're not running at a loss. Because initially, personally, when I started, I went through a lot of loss, and as I mentioned earlier, I had to close down at some point because I had not understood the dynamics or of costing, and what goes into that, and the fact that I was not running a charity. I mean, guys, I love nutrition. I could do this for free any day, but then that does not pay my bills. At the end of the day, I have bills to pay. So you have to separate CSR, corporate social responsibility, or giving back to the community, as people call it, or your exposure costs, or you being empathetic with people, from the reality of the situation, which is you are running a business at the end of the day. And for me, just to, I like discussing some of my successes and failures when it comes to business. And for me, because nutrition is more of a passion, I really struggled with costing and with charging people for services. And to date, I actually do not charge cancer patients. I mean, there are some people who I already know the cost they're incurring when they're going through treatment, etc. So for me, I found it extremely difficult to actually charge some of my patients, and I realized probably I'm not cut out for that business model. And that is why eventually I needed to close down, because I realized for me that was not going to really work. And as you'll see from our website stellaafia.com, when there are clients or patients that need to be taken care of, because I mean nutrition must be individualized care, a lot of times I refer them to colleagues that are in my consortium, because for me, to be honest with you, I will not be able to charge them. So you need to also know your weaknesses as far as business is concerned, because if I know getting a management team or getting somebody else to give that service is going to make the business model work, then you need to know how to bring that into play. And for me, basically, I just decided altogether to just switch my business into corporate wellness. And that is 3/4 of what I normally do right now. I will still have, clients who want to have that one-on-one, individualized care, which is ultimately what needs to happen when it comes to matters nutrition and healthcare and wellness. And that is where referral comes in, to other consultants. Because for me, I realized, like Digi Hota, I can't. It was just, it wasn't working. All right. So you really also need to understand yourself, so that when you're doing your costing, when you're doing your services, choosing which kind of services even to provide, you understand your weaknesses versus your strengths, and what will inform what you choose. The other thing is margins for recurring expenses. For instance, you have rent. You might have I don't know, a service charge depending on where your office is. So you need to know how much you're incurring to run the business, so that it can inform how much you're going to cost your services. So I think it's important to first of all know how to cost your services, so that you do not run down your business like I did when I first opened my clinic. Because, guys, it's not very easy, especially in the current economy, to run a business if it is not profitable, if it has not broken even, and it's not able to sustain itself. All right. So I think this is going to be a much shorter vlog compared to my previous vlogs. I just wanted to talk to you guys about how to get your clients, how to cost your services, and making sure that this word exposure is not the currency you're being paid with. Because, well, first of all, it's not currency, and two, it's not going to pay your bills, and three, basically, unatumiwa, you're being used. Let me just break it out to you. So break it down to you. So make sure you don't find yourself in the situation I found myself in. And to just wrap this up, one other platform that can help you, especially when you're getting clients, is if you're able to go for radio shows or TV shows, or being at a situation or a context where you're talking to a lot of people tend to kind of trust you a lot faster. And also, of course, you will meet more people if you take advantage of such platforms to put yourself out there. I did that at the beginning, of course. I still do that to date. If I, when and how, whenever I choose to, or if need be. But please make sure you're not being taken advantage of, because, guys, this Nairobi, wacha tu. It taught me hard lessons when it comes to business. And also, please understand business. Just go on YouTube, go on Google, somewhere. Just learn basics of running a business successfully. Otherwise, you will end up closing shop like I initially did when I started. Okay? Now, I'm going to leave this vlog here. Please remember to subscribe. Follow us on our social media platforms. Our website is www.stellaafia.com. Stella Afia is STELLAR, then Afia, AFYA.com. On Twitter, I'm at nutritionist KE or Stella Afia. On Facebook, it's nutrition specialist hyphen Stella Afia, or just type Stella Afia, and you should be able to get us on most of our social media platforms. Until the next one, stay healthy, stay safe, stay nourished, and remember, it's business. All right? Don't get emotional about it. You need to make money to be able to survive and break even. Cool? All right. See you in the next one. Bye for now.